Well, good evening and welcome to Carnegie Town Hall. I'll call to order this regular meeting of the City of Sioux Falls Planning Commission. As we have for the last several months, going on maybe a year and a half, 2 years now, at the beginning we like to take a little bit to recognize a project that's gone above and beyond, somebody that's exceeded the standards that the City of Sioux Falls has, just to give them a little bit of recognition for all of their effort. And tonight we're going to recognize the Gas Stop and Commercial Strip Mall. It's located on 1.5 acres at the southeast corner of 26th Street and Sertoma Avenue. It's a gas station, convenience store, bank, fitness center, and laundromat. With surrounding residential, Memorial Middle School, and park, traffic counts at the intersection exceed 15,000 vehicles per day. Our recognition tonight for this property is a compliment to the landscape screening that they've provided to the adjacent residential development. To the east, a dense buffer of evergreen trees screen the bank's drive-up and parking and creates a park-like view for the homeowners. The site was also developed with pedestrian access along the east side and oriented the store to allow customers to come in from both directions. The gas station canopy was one of the first in town to use new downcast site-contained lighting. And although this development dates back to 2001, this is an outstanding example of a commercial site that the new Shape Places zoning ordinance adopted in April of this year that protects residential areas from commercial development. If you join me in recognition for the Gas Stop and Commercial Strip Mall. And with that, we'll move on to approve the consent agenda and then the regular agenda in that order. We're going to approve the consent agenda. These are the items that are non-controversial that would be approved all at one time. And Denise, if you would please read those items.
Item 1 is approval of the October 1st, 2014 minutes of the regular meeting. Item 2 is plats. Item 3 is a 1755-2014 rezone from the AG Agricultural District to the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban RA1 Apartment Residential District, Low Density, O Office District, and C4 Commercial Regional District for allowed forms located south of East 85th Street and east of South Minnesota Avenue. Item 4, 1817-2014 rezone from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban and RA3 Apartment Residential High Density District for allowed forms located south of East 41st Street and west of South Faith Avenue. Item 5, 1821-2014 rezone from the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar and the S1 General Institutional Districts to the CN Conservation District for allowed forms located at the northwest corner of East 69th Street and Southeastern Avenue.
Thank you, Denise. Did any member of the Planning Commission wish to move one of those items off consent? Was there anybody in the audience that wanted to talk about those first 5 items? Otherwise, we will approve them all at once right now. With that, I'll look for Planning Commission action.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the consent items.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, same sign. The consent agenda items have passed. If you were here for one of those 5 items, you're free to leave. You're also free to stay if you want to as well. Now, if I could get a motion to approve the regular agenda.
So moved. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the regular agenda, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. The regular agenda has been approved.
Item 6, 1820-2014 rezone in the AG Agricultural RR Single Family Residential Rural POPUD Pedestrian Oriented Planned Unit Development Districts to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban, RD2 Townhome Residential Suburban, CN Conservation, O Office, C4 Commercial Regional, RA2 Apartment Residential Moderate Density District for allowed forms located north and south of East Highway 42 and west of South 6 Mile Road.
Good evening, Diane DeCoyer with Planning Office. The project before you is a request to rezone approximately 257 acres for a mixed use of residential, office, commercial, and conservation districts. The property is located north and south of East 10th Street and west of 6 Mile Road. The applicant is Preston Metler, and the owner is Mystic Creek LLC. The property is currently undeveloped with existing residential to the north and south that are part of the Split Rock Township and outside of city limits. Where the applicant has proposed O office, it transitions well between the C4 zoning district and RD2, which is townhome residential. With the O office adjacency to the townhomes, a level B buffer yard, 15-foot setback and a 2-foot high berm and 30 units of landscaping is required. The proposed zoning districts are generally compatible with the adjacent zoning districts, which help to alleviate traffic from higher density and uses away from lower intensity uses. Prior to this, quite a bit of it was zoned as the POPUD. I believe it was, everything in purple that's up there. That allowed for much of the same zoning that they're rezoning for tonight in that area. So a lot of that is compatible. Because the subject application is consistent with the Shape Sioux Falls Comprehensive Plan, staff recommends approval for this rezoning. And I can answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Diane. Do commission members have any questions for her?
Diane, just a quick question on the RS. I'm referring to the zoning district acreage matrix on the write-up. The RS
Yep.
talks about 67.2 proposed acres, but only one lot. I assume that's just, we haven't gotten there yet. They haven't done the detailed lot count.
They've got a lot layout you can see on their zoning exhibit that was included with your packet. I don't know the number of lots on it, but it is approximately 67 acres.
Okay.
The
Thank you.
applicant, I believe, is here. He might be able to answer that more specifically.
Didn't know if we had made it there yet, so to that point.
I'm sorry?
I wasn't sure if we made it to that stage yet in the
We like to have an idea, and I mean, it may change. This is just an exhibit at this point. So, I mean, he could give you probably a range.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Is the applicant here? You would come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Preston Metler, 5104 South Barrington Drive.
Preston, anything you wanted to add to Diane's report?
Not really,
All right.
unless there's questions.
Any questions for Preston?
I'll just ask my same question. Do you know approximately how many single-family lots will?
Our last version was about 120, 115, 120.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Anybody else from the audience want to talk about item number 6? With that, we'll look for commission action.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 6.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. Item 6 carries.
Item 7, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at various locations, amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls.
Good evening, Jeffrey Schmidt, representing planning staff on these items. Number 7 is a city-initiated rezoning. We have 4 rezoning items underneath number 7. I'll take them all concurrently, and then if there's questions on each independent one, we can go ahead and handle those. The first rezoning is 1875. It's rezoning from RD1 twin homes to the RA1 apartment residential low density. This is on Melanie Lane, and the issue there is it is a water tower, and we want the water tower to exist and remain there, so we're rezoning it to RA1 where a water tower can remain in existence. The second item is item 1876, and this is a C2 commercial neighborhood streetcar rezoning Currently, you can see that there is a strip of I-1 in the middle of it. That's a mistake. We're going to rezone the entire thing for C2. This allows for the existing motor vehicle service station or service convenience to be at that location in Minnesota and Russell. The third item is 1877. And 1877 is currently zoned as C2, and we're rezoning it to C3. Again, the issue there is to allow C3 allows the existing hotel to remain in existence. C3 allows for a larger hotel of that number of floors. In a C2 district, it does not allow that number of floors. So we're making it legal, and that was just a mistake on our part when we rezoned it. And the fourth item is number 1878. And 1878 is rezoning from RA1. You can see on this site, it was all zoned to RA1 apartment complex, and we're correcting that back to the old office. It was actually old office in the planned development district. There are some apartments there, but the majority of the site was zoned office, so it's to remain old office on this site. So those are the 4 city-initiated rezonings. It's just to correct those basically housekeeping measures.
So Jeff, this was when we passed the Shape Sioux Falls zoning ordinance and rezoned everything to the new, under the new ordinance. These were ones that just got missed.
Correct. When we rezoned all 65,000 parcels, again, a lot of those were images that we were looking at, and some of them that we were made mistakes. So we were able to, as city staff, go in, and what we told them in April is that we come back and make the corrections if we made mistakes. And so these are mistakes that we had made, and so we're just bringing them back to what they actually are.
So they're
Yes, sir.
all existing structures, things that are going on there. It's nothing changing, nothing new. It's just.
That's correct. Nothing changing, nothing new. Yes.
Any other questions for Jeff? Thank you. And there is no applicant since you're the applicant.
Yep.
Thank you. So anybody from the audience care to comment on item number 7? Come on up and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Kathy Crisp, and I live at 1611 South 8th Avenue. My concern on this is that we have it listed on 1878, listed as the RA1 apartment residential low density, and they're going to change that to an office district. That area includes the Planned Parenthood clinic, which, based on what I'm reading, it would make more sense that it would be listed under your the institution under, I believe it's BCF2 is what I looked at, a human service facility, which is fine. That seems more compatible than just a regular office to me.
Well, and I appreciate those, and Jeff can jump in here too, but I think a dentist office would be zoned office, and eye doctors would be zoned office. So it functions the same as any of those sorts of uses.
I think they're a little more medical, though, than just general office, correct? I mean, like an eye doctor, if I go into an eye doctor, they look at my eye. You're doing surgical procedures in this other clinic.
Eye doctors do surgical procedures, as do dentists or orthodontists, and they would still all be zoned office.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have a comment on item number 7? If not, I'll look for commission action.
Motion to approve item number 7.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I think we are staying true to what we said when Shape Places Sioux Falls passed. It's impossible for us to get 65,000 things right, plus the other 100,000 things that changed as a result of that zoning. And we need to maintain the zoning for the integrity of the parcels that exist within and around it. And therefore, that's really the purpose of this change.
I agree with you, Jesse. What we said was zoning matters, and they should be zoned as to what their function is, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yes.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would assume that this is only the beginning of many of these that we'll see over the next several months, making slight minor adjustments and corrections to something that wasn't possible because of the enormity of it all. Is So I don't think we need to be too surprised if we don't see it again.
Thanks, Denny. If there's no other discussion, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, same sign. Item 7 carries.
Item 8, 1797-2014, conditional use permit in the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to allow on-sale alcohol within 500 feet of a sensitive land use located at 902 South Cliff Avenue.
Thank you. This is Cliff Avenue and 17th Street. It's C2, and you can see to the east it's single family. That's the sensitive use. As part of our conditional use standards that we have now, if it was just in a commercial district and it was remaining in a commercial district away from sensitive uses, they could go ahead and have this use and go to a building permit. However, we've protected the single-family homes, and they have to have a conditional use anytime you're near or close to, again, within 500 feet of a sensitive use. So that's why they're here tonight. This applicant would like to have another on-sale alcohol license for the north tenant space to construct a second casino. The standards that we have for these on-sale alcohol establishments are 4. Number 1 being that the on-sale alcohol establishment must have all parking spaces within the on-site parking. Number 2, the lighting may be considered to provide illumination for security and safety, but the on-site lighting plans must be submitted and reviewed. So again, that we don't have off-site spillover. 3, there must be soundproofing must be considered to prevent noise and vibrations from penetrating into and surrounding neighborhoods. And 4, we must have a security management plan should be provided to the police department. With all those things being met, staff recommends approval of this conditional use permit.
Thanks, Jeff. So one of the things that changed with the Shea Places is there still are conditional use permits, but we've, instead of having each condition listed every time, these are the 4 that were consistently put on applications like this. So they're just part of the ordinance and the law now that this is what, the 4 things you read are what any applicant would have to agree or comply with.
Correct, as well as we wouldn't have the hearing, I wouldn't be here if they weren't adjacent to single family. Whereas the previous ordinance, anytime they came in and asked for an on-sale, if they were in the middle of 41st and Louise, you would have a public hearing. Now it's only when they're impacting single family. Then we have the hearing so that hopefully the neighbors would be able to have a discussion. So,
Thank you. Any questions for Jeff?
Jeff, if I recall, this parcel has been zoned this in the past.
yes,
There
Yep.
have been 2 casinos, one on either side of
correct.
this
But
building.
one tenant had closed and now they're coming in requesting that one additional tenant again. Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. Is the applicant here? Come on up. Hi, if you give us your name and address for the record, please.
Liza Johnson Holbert, 5201 South Briarwood.
Thank you, Liza. Anything you wanted to add to what Jeff said?
It's very basic. We already have the casino there. We just want to, we have the space next door, so we want to add a few more machines for when we're busy on weekends or whatever. Nothing different out of the ordinary.
Thank you. Were there any questions for Liza? All right, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Anybody else from the audience want to comment on item number 8? If not, I'll look for commission action.
Move to approve item number 8.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. Item 8 carries.
Item 9, 1798-2014, conditional use permit in the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to allow on-sale alcohol within 500 feet of a sensitive land use located at 2516 West 41st Street.
This is on West 41st Street, just to the west of Western Avenue. You can see it's on Elmwood, and it's existing C2, already commercial district. It's a smaller C2 site, so that it can't be a big store. And to the north, Diane's highlighted that it is adjacent to residential. So I won't highlight to you again that there's 4 conditions that they have to meet and why we're here this evening, but this applicant again, plans to subdivide the existing Crown Casino into 2 tenant spaces, one for the existing casino and the other for a proposed on-sale alcohol establishment, which would be a casino. That's why they're here tonight, to have a public hearing on adding a second casino to this existing facility.
Thank you, Jeff, and I see you're taking the place of Jason tonight, and
Yes.
we should congratulate him on the birth of his, if
Hi,
he's watching.
Jason.
Because he has a
Congratulations to your wife.
right, a whole lot of time on his hands with a new baby at home. but
Right.
Congratulations. to
Jason's not doing anything, but his wife's taking all the burden.
him. So he's watching.
Yes, I'm
Everything
sure
on
he's
it, yeah.
at home. Yeah.
Thanks. Any questions
No.
for Jeff?
Just real quick, Jeff, on this application for the conditional use permit, when I first read it, I was a little confused. The surrounding land uses note Burger King to the north and apartments to the south. In my mind, that put it over in the Western Mall area.
Right.
This is really north of 41st.
Correct. It's on the north side, so Burger King's to the south.
So I don't know if that has to be amended on the application, so it doesn't give them any
Yeah.
grief later on.
Okay.
But,
We'll check that. Thank you.
yep.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Is the applicant here? She's here. Come on back up. You're going to get a workout today.
Liza Johnson Holbert, 5201 South Briarwood Avenue.
Thank you, Liza. Anything you wanted to add?
Same thing, we just have the space, just adding on a little more. Nothing's changing, nothing's different.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for her?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody from the audience want to comment on item number 9? If not, I'll look for commission action.
Move to approve item number 9.
Second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? It's a quiet group tonight. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, same sign. Item carries.
Item 10 is a 1824-2014 conditional use permit in the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to allow on-sale alcohol within 500 feet of a sensitive land use located at 2505 West Russell Street.
Thank you. This one is at Russell and Kiwanis. It's on the southeast corner. Again, you can see it's on a smaller parcel. It's C2. It's already zoned that way. To the north is Elmwood Golf Course. To the west is Elmwood Park, which includes softball diamonds. This is an existing gas station. The applicant would like to construct a small addition to the existing gas station for the purpose of adding a casino, which would be abutting the city park. That is the sensitive use here, so that's why we're having the public hearing. The issue here that has been brought up before, again, there's the same 4 criteria that we've talked about for these other conditional uses, but highlighting that there's parking. We haven't had a concern in the previous 2 in regards to parking. It's not something that we really get concerned about, but in the past, on this item, there has been an issue about parking. This applicant has addressed that parking. So this existing building has 2,680 square feet. The proposed addition is only 615 square feet. They require 16 parking spaces, and the applicant has 16 on-site parking spaces, which meets the requirement.
Any questions for Jeff? Thank you.
Yep.
Is the applicant here?
My name is Vic Patel. I reside at 3308 North Galaxy Lane.
Anything you wanted to add, Vic?
No, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Vic? All right. Thank you. Anybody from the audience want to comment on item number 10? I will look for commission action then.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 10.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would imagine we're not really in any danger of this getting too out of hand with patrons being right next door to the driver's license station. Probably stay pretty tame.
You would think so.
Yeah.
Depends on how it goes.
And if I think like Jeff said, if I remember this item from the last time, the spaces that were included were at the pump and now they're not at the pump. So he's addressed the parking issue that I think was the biggest hangup from before. No other discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. Item 10 carries.
Item 11, 1822-2014 conditional use permit in the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District for accessory off-site parking located at 410 West 18th Street.
Good evening, Diane DeCoyer with planning staff. The applicant is requesting a conditional use in the C2 in the RE3 form to allow accessory off-site parking within 200 feet of a detached dwelling form. Co-op Natural Foods has decided to make this their permanent location. They're planning to construct an addition of approximately 1,000 square feet on the north side of the building. To the north side is RD1. That part of the property that they're encroaching on or will take over, that part of the property will also have to be rezoned prior to obtaining a building permit. With the parcel they share with the office next door, they're not able to meet their required parking needs. The adjacent lot used by Pita Pit, it's also the same owner of the two parcels, will be restriped for compact parking stalls to accommodate 10 additional stalls for co-op's needs. They are also prepared to provide bicycle racks and bus passes for employees to complete their full parking needs. The increased floor area of the building is less than 20%, therefore a buffer yard to the north where adjacent to RD1 is not required. The applicant has indicated that they will install a fence between the building addition and the residence to the north. The applicant has provided the necessary information and extent of the work proposed. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit. And I can answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Diane. The one that I had is the conditional use permit standards say that they have to have in writing this agreement? And it has to be
Correct.
for no less than a year, right?
Correct.
And that's something that's done?
That will be something that is done once this is passed and once they know exactly what their building addition and the required parking will be. They'll need to reevaluate that. It looks like right now it is for 10, and they're able to meet bicycle and bus passes with the remainder of their needs.
So then before they could get a building permit, they'd have to come and present the agreement?
That is something that zoning will verify at that time, yes.
Right.
And again, they do have to rezone that north part of the property, so.
Thank you. Any other questions for Diane? All right. Is the applicant here?
Keith Thompson, 431 North Phillips.
Hi, Keith. Anything you wanted to add?
No. Just any questions?
Any questions for Keith? Do you own the parcel to the north where the houses are and are you planning on expanding to, or?
I do not. I'm with Coke Hazard Architects. We're working with Co-op on the redesign of their facility. So just owner couldn't be here.
Okay.
Actually right there.
Oh, there he is. All right. Thank you. Any other questions? No? Thanks. Anybody else that wanted to comment on item number 11? All right, I'll look for commission action.
Make a motion to approve item number 11.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I have no discussion all night long, guys?
Just a real quick item. The requirement to stripe the lot as compact cars, you know, I guess it satisfies the requirements that they're going to need to have, but I still envision this lot being taken up by F-150s or SUVs shopping there, so they're going to be a lot and a half.
I'm not sure that's their clientele,
Yeah.
going to the natural food co-op, but
Not necessarily the pita pits. I was there today, and it wasn't compact cars in the parking lot. But anyway.
They will sign those parking stalls as well as co-op for those people using the customers using that building.
Yeah, it's not so much the assignment, it's the size of them.
The size.
Yeah, so anyway, just a comment.
Okay.
no other discussion. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, same sign. Item 11 carries.
Item 12, 1818-2014, initial development plan amendment in the Lake Lorraine pedestrian-oriented planned unit development located east of South Marion Road and south of West Lake Shore Boulevard.
Thank you. This is an amendment to the initial development plan. We had the initial development plan here a couple of months ago. This applicant now is requesting an approval of the amendment for a proposed senior living complex on the south portion of the site. The total site itself is 131 acres. The applicant is requesting this amendment to continue construction of the Lake Lorraine pedestrian-oriented planned unit development. The majority of the initial development plan approval from May of 2014 will stay the same, except for a lot located at the southeast corner of Terry and Lakeshore Drive. The applicant plans to change that proposed 3 8-unit and 3 1-twin townhome residential structures to a apartment complex, which would be for senior living facilities, which would be called Grand Living. So that is the request in front of you today, is to change really from townhomes to a larger apartment complex living facility. The residential land uses for the entire 131 acre site is remaining the same. Office land uses are remaining the same. The commercial land uses and the recreational land uses. The changes themselves, again, are coming forward with the residential land uses, as Diane shows you, on the south side for this senior living complex. It will be, as proposed today, about 145 units in the senior living. The parking will have to change to address that, but again, the parking does meet the standards. The buffer yards will also have to change. If they came in as townhomes as proposed before, they would have buffer yard requirements adjacent to the single family. When they come in for an apartment complex, that form will have to meet the standards, and they are currently proposed to meet the standards adjacent to single family. The other thing that's being addressed is the height and the number of dwelling units. The height itself will be addressed by building code as well as the zoning ordinance, and that's being addressed, as well as the overlying initial development plan requires this to be a pedestrian-oriented planned unit development, and staff highly recommends that this is still meeting that intent, because having a large senior housing complex here still meets the intent of pedestrian-oriented. They still have the walkways, they still have the open space, and they're still having the grand promenade around the lake. So the proposed senior living apartment complex is a change from the previous approved townhome adjacent to the single-family homes to the south. However, an adequate transition still exists. The increase in the number of units and the maximum height will still meet the intent of the ordinance and the intent of the comprehensive plan. With that, staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any questions for Jeff? All right. Is the applicant here?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. My name's Eric Anderson. I'm Vice President of Development with Ryan Companies, 50 South 10th Street, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Anything you wanted to add, Eric?
No, we're excited to be part of the development. Our architect is here along with myself and a co-developer, and we're happy to have worked with the Van Buskirks, the Friesens, and Lloyd Companies in helping us get this thing done.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Eric?
Eric, on this facility, is it just independent living level apartments, or?
No, it's going to be a combination. It'll be independent, assisted, and memory care. So right now, we're slated to have 69 independent living units, 40 assisted living units, 36 memory care units. What's different about this type of structure is that people tend to age in place. If you come in as independent living, you age as you move on. What we do is we license the facility so that it can all be assisted living. In some states, what you have to do is when you're in an independent unit, when it's time to move to assisted living, and it's tough for people when they move, you have to literally move them to another unit. So we're licensing the whole thing as assisted. It'll be independent, and it's a higher-end facility. We love the development that we've got here, and the ability to have the walkable environment around the lake, the connection with the retail. It's just a wonderful place to be.
I agree. It makes a lot of sense.
It's a great concept. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to talk about item number 12? I will look for commission action.
Move to approve item number 12.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion?
This neighborhood will be excellent for this facility. I think this is a really good use of both the neighborhood and the facility in this kind of good shared use, and having pedestrian-oriented surroundings for this makes a lot of sense.
When I think about my grandparents who are starting to look for this sort of a facility, and it just makes a lot of sense to have everything right in one spot.
Maybe you can make a reservation for your.
I probably should. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, same sign. Item 12 carries. We do have one item of new business, so before anybody makes a motion to adjourn, in our packets, we all got the downtown plan, and we're going to have Dustin Powers come and give us kind of an overview of what's going on downtown and what we hope to have go on downtown.
Good evening, Dustin Powers with the Community Development Department. Tonight, I'm going to try to summarize a 60-page document in a short presentation for you and then be open to any questions. But we are very excited to be able to bring forward the 2025 downtown plan. We've been working on this process for over a year now and captured a lot of public engagement through this process. And one of the things that we wanted to do was be able to portray that public engagement, that public process through the downtown plan. So what I want to do tonight is first kind of give you an idea of the process that we went through, and then get into the recommendations that are set forth within the plan. So one of the very first things that we did to kick off the public engagement part of the 2025 downtown planning process was to establish a citizen advisory committee. That was 13 members that met with us monthly over this year-long process. And I would like to acknowledge a couple of them here tonight. We do have a liaison here, Jesse Schmitz on the Planning Commission, that helped lead the advisory committee for us. And we also have Jennifer Schmidt-Bauer that was a part of the advisory committee. And I believe that's all we have here tonight. But they were very instrumental in helping us move through this process and being able to give us input as we kept moving forward. One of the very first items that the Citizen Advisory Committee did was they established 13 elements for downtown and wanted to cast try to cast an array over all the elements that are within downtown. And so those are listed there: parks and recreation, park, economic development, and so forth. And what we decided was, what should we do with these 13 elements now that we have them? And so what we decided to do was, for each of those 13 elements, we would establish a citizen work group. We had over 100 volunteers volunteer to partake in the process of meeting with us and giving us their input on each of those elements. So members volunteered for a specific topic that they would like to discuss, whether it be parks and recreation or parking, public safety. With those 100 participants, they met with us over 50 times over about a 4-month period. And what they did is they provided recommended goals and action steps for their specific element that they were addressing. After we brought all those goals and recommendations from those 13 work groups together, we came up with 57 goals and 229 action steps from those citizen work groups. A couple other things we did for public engagement. We held a number of community meetings throughout the community, not just downtown. We held some of our larger events downtown, but we participated in some of the Healthy Living Days and other activities that were going on throughout the community. And we also held some open houses on the east and west edges of Sioux Falls to capture some input of what people that live on the edge of town think of downtown. One of the other big ways in which we received public input was through a web-based survey. We received over 1,700 responses to that survey. And the plan that you have with you, the appendix actually summarizes those 1,700 responses. After we had spent all this energy on the public engagement and what the community aspirations were, we wanted to relate that back to what the market reality for downtown Sioux Falls was. And so what we did is we brought on Progressive Urban Management Associates out of Denver, Colorado, and they partnered with Arlen Land Use Economics to do a market study for downtown Sioux Falls. What they looked at was not just downtown Sioux Falls, but Sioux Falls, and then Sioux Falls, how it relates to the region. And so after looking at all that, bringing all that information together and looking at past trends, what they did is made some recommendations for the next 20 years. And so just to briefly look at their key conclusions, for residential, they looked at 3 market segments in downtown: residential, retail, and office. With residential, we've started to see that a little bit of growth of residential development, and they see that continuing going forward. And so over the next 20 years, they're looking at a potential to create an additional 1,900 to 3,200 units in downtown Sioux Falls. For retail, looking at what downtown currently captures as the retail percentage, currently downtown captures 8% of retail sales in Sioux Falls. And if we continue that with the continued growth of Sioux Falls as the population increases, we're looking at a potential to create an additional 190 to 475,000 square feet of retail or restaurant space in downtown Sioux Falls over the next 20 years. And then office space, obviously downtown is the central business district for Sioux Falls, and continuing to see downtown capture that regional share of office space, potential of 1 to 1.6 million square feet of office space over the next 20 years in downtown. One of the other things that Progressive Urban Management Associates did within the market analysis, they partner with the University of Colorado, and what they do is a global trends analysis in which they look at all the trends nationwide and what is happening in downtowns nationwide. And so what they did is they looked at what trends nationwide would fit here in Sioux Falls. And when I go through these, they'll make a lot of sense. And actually, when we get to the goals, you'll see them, how the goals have captured some of these trends that they're seeing nationwide, but we're really starting to see here in Sioux Falls as well. So the first is that changing workforce. Both the young skilled workers, those millennials, but also the baby boomers are looking that are probably possibly empty nesters at this point in their life, are looking for areas that are compact in development. They enjoy living and working in a more high dense atmosphere, and so being able having that changing workforce really fuels the demand for residential and office and retail space to continue to grow in downtown. Shifts in mobility, looking back again at those baby boomers and those millennials, as more compact development, people nowadays are looking at different ways of transportation, not just the automobile. And so looking at ways to accommodate bicycle pedestrians and transit going forward. Residential, we've continued to see the growth in residential development in downtown, but also citywide. We've seen a lot of residential developments with higher densities, those multifamily units. And so with downtown Sioux Falls having the atmosphere that it does draw in a lot of those people looking for those types of living units. And so we'll continue to see that going forward. And then healthy places. When you talk about the built environment and how that relates back to your health, so being able to provide walkable community, being able to provide those bicycle facilities, but also the recreational needs, as well as just being able to get to fresh foods. And we've done some work here in Sioux Falls of establishing some community gardens. Downtown has a great opportunity because it has the farmers markets downtown, and so continuing to see that really helps to develop that healthy atmosphere. So now that we've looked at the community aspirations and then the market reality, we wanted to establish a physical framework, which is kind of the second section of the downtown plan. And so I'll quickly go through these, but one of the first things we wanted to look at is what are the current activity centers in downtown Sioux Falls. And we looked at it in a couple different ways. What are those activity drivers? What are some emerging activity centers? And then really what are the, kind of the employment centers, because those do draw a lot of people downtown. A lot of people are drawn downtown because they work here. And so Falls Park, East Bank, Phillips Avenue areas are really their current activity drivers that we have in downtown Sioux Falls. Falls, but we have some emerging ones. The Uptown area, kind of that southern edge, has started to see some of those blighted single-family homes disappear and start to be redeveloped. And then also within this 10-year period, we would be looking at the rail yard redevelopment as a potential emerging center for downtown Sioux Falls. We also highlighted the River Greenway, and then the employment centers would be kind of that county campus, the courthouse and administration and police department, as well as kind of the downtown core, which is really just the majority of the employment in downtown Sioux Falls. Then we looked at the connections. What are our current connections? We looked at everything from streets, bike lanes, pathways, pedestrian bridges, and obviously our street network is fairly good downtown. We obviously can get places by the automobile. We just need to maintain those going forward, but then looking at ways in which we can create more pedestrian and bicycle-friendly atmosphere as well. So we do have sharrows downtown. We do have dedicated bike routes downtown, but how do we expand those going forward? And so that's really what the connections looked at. Then we looked at the collective framework. You basically took the activity center layer and then you laid it on the connectivity layer, and you get what we wanted to see here is really wanted to make sure that our connections were connecting those activity centers we had discussed earlier. So if there was a missing link between an activity center, we were able to propose some future links via this. And then the last thing that we looked at was just future development sites and development areas in downtown Sioux Falls. And these are sites that be vacant or have interest in redevelopment in the future, as well as the areas. The areas are a little bit larger, so that's why we categorize those as the areas. But the other thing that's labeled on this map is really as we continue to develop in downtown Sioux Falls, where are we going to find space to build new buildings? And surface parking lots is a great opportunity for that as we become more dense downtown and looking for those infill opportunities. So we labeled the number of surface parking lots that are downtown that would be potential redevelopment sites as well. So that really established the physical framework for the plan. And so we've looked at the aspirations of the community, we've looked at the market reality and how those things mesh, and we've looked at that physical framework. And so this all leads to kind of the action plan and the goals and recommendations going forward. So within that action plan, like I said before, we had 57 goals and 229 action items from those citizen work groups. After comparing that with the market analysis and bringing it down to a manageable expectation going forward through the next 10 years, what we did is we established 13 goals and 58 action items. And when we looked at all these goals, we looked at them in 3 different categories. And the first was being economy. So these are goals that are initiatives that attract jobs, new business, and investment to downtown Sioux Falls. The next set of goals were the environment. So initiatives that improve that public atmosphere and the built environment in downtown Sioux Falls. And then the goals that were related to the experience of downtown. And so those are initiatives that activate, celebrate, or maintain downtown. So first we're going to look at those economy goals. The first goal is to stimulate economic growth through strategic use and public resources and attracting private sector involvement. This is really, we've seen a lot of this happening in downtown Sioux Falls, a lot of public-private partnerships along the River Greenway that have really been successful. And so using the initiatives that we have already in the city, but looking at ways to encourage that going forward as well. The second goal under the economy was to increase the residential base and encourage a greater diversity of living options. As the market analysis stated, as the regional or national or global trends show, there's a demand for more residential development and more people are wanting to flock to the downtown areas nationwide. And so this is a way to increase that base, but also look at ways to diversify the living options that we do have in downtown. Promote and market downtown as a great place to live, work, and play. This has been a goal that actually was a part of the last plan that we had in 2015, for 2015. And so this one kind of carried over, but we vamped up the action items under there, how to collaborate and promote all of these things in downtown Sioux Falls. And then maintain and manage an effective public parking system. As downtown grows, there's a need for more and more public parking. As more and more office space, more and more jobs are created downtown, we need to make sure we're managing an effective public parking system. And so those are the four goals that were established under the economy section. The environment goals: improve mobility infrastructure for all modes of transportation to and within downtown. As the market study showed, those national trends, we're looking at more and more ways to get around, not just by automobile. And so looking at ways to promote infrastructure needs that really accommodate all modes of transportation. A great example of something of this that you've seen recently in downtown is just the Main Avenue Road Diet and how that has been able to change the atmosphere of that road by just doing a few simple things. Protect and encourage historic preservation. Obviously, downtown Sioux Falls has a very strong history and character, and we want to make sure that that continues to go forward through historic preservation, and so we want to encourage that forward. Develop design standards that enhance the aesthetic appeal of downtown. Downtown Sioux Falls currently has a set of design standards that were drafted back in the 90s. And so as we've started to see a lot more development happening in downtown Sioux Falls, we're getting a new downtown plan. It's really just wanting to look back at those design standards and look forward to what we want to see the vision and the aesthetic appeal of downtown look like going forward. And so revamping those design standards was a goal of the groups going forward. Improve connections and wayfinding to and within downtown. Obviously, if you live, work downtown, you know how to get to the places, you know where they're at. But if you're a visitor and you want to get to the Washington Pavilion or you need to get to a parking spot and a parking ramp, you need to know how to get there. And so what are easy ways in which we can accomplish that? Things have been accomplished so far. We've done such things before as like a parking app that's been created. We also looked at, if you've been downtown in the last month, you've seen some of those utility boxes on the side of the road get us a wrap around them in which they provide great direction to the activities or the attractions in downtown Sioux Falls. And so those are a great amenity, and those are the things that we want to continue to see going forward. And then the last goal is to ensure that downtown continues to be attractive, clean, and safe. Really that goal describes itself, but as we're increasing in population, we're getting more workers down here, we're getting more employees, more residents living downtown. We want to make sure that we're continuing to make sure that this is a clean and attractive place for not just the people living and working here, but also the visitors that come to Sioux Falls. The last section of goals is our experience goals. The first being create a visitor-friendly atmosphere with attraction and events during all 4 seasons. And this was a big thing that came of all of our groups that we discussed with, is this year-round atmosphere. Downtown Sioux Falls is great for 6 months out of the year on a good year. And so how do we continue to do that through the winter months? Many cities across the nation really promote those winter months and how to activate their downtowns during those months, and that's something that we want to capture here in Sioux Falls going forward. Expand the recreational opportunities through new and enhanced parks. We're really looking at trying to, we have a great amenity downtown with the Falls Park in downtown Sioux Falls, and the River Greenway is an extension of that. And so there's a number of other parks that could be enhanced downtown Sioux Falls, but also just kind of what those parks are. One of the biggest comments we heard was something related to dog parks. As more people are living downtown, where to take those. So just providing some additional green spaces and opportunities for recreation. Be the region's hub for arts, culture, and entertainment. Downtown has been that leader here for quite a while. Back in around 2000 area is when the sculpture walk started to take off, and that's really been a recognized item for downtown Sioux Falls, and so continuing, working with that, but looking at other ways in which to continue that. We have the Orpheum Theater, we have the Washington Pavilion downtown, but continuing to look at ways in which to become that, or continue to be the region's hub for arts, culture, and entertainment. And then the last goal that we have under experience is promote active living, health, and wellness in downtown. And this relates back to that national trend of just healthy places and moving forward, looking at ways in which to improve, the movability and the healthy living styles through downtown going forward. And so with each of those goals, there were a number of action steps that are in the plan. I'm not going to go through those tonight because that would take quite a while, and I've been talking long enough. But I will talk about kind of the implementation of this. One of the things that we wanted to achieve is how do we implement this going forward? So we got 13 goals, we got 58 action steps. Are we, how do we achieve those and going forward? And so we wanted to create an implementation or a phasing project or going forward for the recommendations. And so what we did is with those action steps, we created 3 time frames within the plan, the first being quick wins. So those are items in which we believe we can accomplish within the next 18 months after adoption of the plan. We have near term, which are those from 18 months to 5 years. So those are the ones that are taking a little bit more work, a little bit more planning effort to get those completed. And then the long term, which is 5 years and beyond. And so there's a number of those that are under that category. And then just one more note is that many of those action items that are throughout all of those categories are action items that are currently being utilized that want to continue to be utilized, or items that once they are started, they will be an ongoing action item going forward. So really, maybe the kickoff for them is really, design standards. That's something we're looking to accomplish more in the near term, but really once they're adopted, they're a long-term thing going forward to continue to implement those design standards. So that is the downtown plan, and there's a lot more information in there, but I can answer any questions for you. I did want to recognize one other group here, Downtown Sioux Falls. Jason and Brienne are here. They've been very instrumental in this process, helping us get the word out about the downtown plan and helping us lead a lot of these work groups that we had. So I'm sure that they'd be willing to say a few words if you'd like. But
thank you, Dustin. I thought you guys did a great job, and it was fun to read the document and look and see all the exciting things that could potentially come downtown. 2 of them that I thought were kind of unique and fun. One was the mixed-use parking, which seems like an interesting idea, and I'm assuming that's retail or something on the ground floor and parking above.
Actually, if you pay attention here in the next month or so, we're going to be issuing an RFEI, kind of a letter of interest in which we're requesting developers to submit proposals to the city will be building up a public parking ramp, and we've made that's part of the Walker parking study that was referenced in the plan. So there's a need for public parking going forward here in the next few years. But what we want to do is we want to create something better than our current parking ramps. And many of the larger cities, if you go to Minneapolis, have that mixed use in those parking ramps. And so what we're going to do is issue kind of an RFEI, RFP process in which we'll accept proposals and then try to find the best development to go forward with that. So to partner, that'll be a public-private partnership going forward as well.
Great. And the other one that I thought was interesting was a sports facility downtown, because I always thought it'd be fun to have a baseball park downtown, and then you'd have a lot more parking out where the current one is, but that's just my 2 cents. That's probably not worth 2 cents. So.
Yeah, we referenced public.
Due to that one.
Yeah, public facilities downtown, and that really tried to capture a lot of things. An ice skating rink was something that was brought up a lot, and that's been in the plans with kind of that Falls Park West area along Phillips there. And so, going forward, that helps with a number of goals. That helps with the recommendation of creating some more recreational opportunities, but also creating that winter-themed opportunities. But then also, just a healthy living style. Ways to get out and be active. So, something like that can really cross over in a lot of different areas.
And with the action items, are you kind of the point guy to make sure they all happen, or is that you and other people, or?
I will probably be a part of the implementation team, I'm sure, yes.
Any other questions for Dustin? Comments, thoughts?
Great job.
Outstanding plan.
Appreciate you coming. If you guys had anything you wanted to add or say, we're all ears.
race. My name is Brian Maynor, and I work for the Downtown Sioux Falls organization, and I also chair the Arts and Entertainment Committee for the Citizen Work Groups for the 2025 plan. And I just quickly wanted to say the Downtown Sioux Falls Board of Directors is proud to endorse the 2025 downtown plan. Every Downtown Sioux Falls board and staff member participated in at least one of the many opportunities provided to assist in creating a vision for the future of downtown. We're confident that our need to be forward-thinking in regard to coordination as a means to bring jobs and future investment to downtown is on the right track. We would like to recognize and thank the advisory committee, the 100 individual volunteers that participated in the citizen work groups, and the 1,763 people who responded to the surveys. Together, we will reach our collective vision of a downtown that is one of the most livable, prosperous, and vital business districts of any Midwest American city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Schmidbauer, 723 East 21st Street, and I had the pleasure of serving on the advisory committee. I'll keep my brief comments even briefer after just agreeing with everything that was just said. I've lived downtown or near downtown for more than 15 years, and I currently work at Raven Industries, which is headquartered downtown. And the transformation over the last 20 years has been absolutely amazing. When my husband and I first moved here, I was working on my master's degree, and for one of my classes, I did a paper on urban blight. And I actually came downtown and took pictures as part of my research of these kind of boarded up buildings and unsavory feeling places. And it's just been a kick to see the transformation that's taken place since. So I encourage a real intentional focus in the decades to come. And I think this plan does that very well. It's very progressive, very comprehensive. And it places emphasis on the core values of being having a downtown in the future that is very vibrant, connected, diverse, compact, inviting, and exhibiting quality throughout. And I think the health of a downtown is really an indication of the health of a city. And so we're very fortunate to have, the support we do for downtown, and hopefully it'll make Sioux Falls a very welcoming and inviting place in the years to come. So thank you.
Thank you. Are we looking for commission action to approve anything? No? Just information? Perfect. If there's no other new business, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 We are adjourned.